think we are live. Happy Wednesday, besties and bosses. How was your weekend? How are you doing? Pull this up in the Facebook group while I say hi to you. I had the best weekend. We had my stepson this weekend, and we just had real good family time. Played some fun games. We actually played a game called Let's Go to Japan, I think is what it's called, but you plan your whole itinerary when you're in Japan. I had just had a client in town. We were talking about going to Japan. I had just had a dentist appointment where we were talking about going to Japan. So I feel like that game, I feel like I must be manifesting a trip to Japan. For those of you who have been, let me know about it. It was really lovely, sweet weekend, and also having a great week. My clients have been killing it. I feel like my phrase, if you're a client of mine, you know this. I feel like my phrase on almost every client call this week has been, "You're killing it." So just lots of good stuff, enjoying the start to summer. Let me see if I can find this. Here we go. I can see myself here so that I can see who's here to have this conversation. So we're going to talk about the mindset I use to avoid burnout and still make 350K or more per year. Obviously, more than that. I've kind of like hovered around that. Some years we've made less, but it's kind of like the average point I'm at. The amount isn't so much the point here, but the reason I included my revenue is it is my fourth year making multi-six figures, and I do that from a one-on-one model where I serve 20 to 25 one-on-one clients at any given time. And so I have quite a full schedule roster. I like it that way. You do not need to work as much as I do to make that kind of money. I just really prefer one-on-one. And I think it would just be really easy to assume that I must always be near burnout, or that you can only do that if you burn out, or that I've burnt out a bunch. And I've never, knock on wood, I've never burnt out in my business. And I think I'm, quite a high achiever, and I see burnout through so many of the people in my world and my clients and peers. So I want to talk a little bit about burnout. There's no shame if you've ever had burnout. It is such a real thing. And it is, I think, especially if you're a high achiever, which many of you in this group I know are, I think you're just a little bit more prone to it. So do not hear this as like, oh my gosh, let me pat myself on the back. I think there are some reasons I've been able to avoid it. And we're going to talk about one mindset in particular that's really supported me. I honestly think if it weren't for this mindset, who knows, I probably would have been burnt out. But I think it's also such a real thing in the online business space and in the entrepreneurial space. I feel like it's like that dark underbelly we don't talk about a lot, and it has real health repercussions. So this feels like such an important conversation for us to have. So I want to talk a little bit more about like what burnout is and is not, what that mindset is, why I find it to be so supportive. Hey lady, nice to see you here. Lilith made it. Woo, she says hi, hello. Y'all, so nice to have you here. And thank you. You're both reminding me. If you're live, say hello, drop a comment. You will be entered to win. We do a giveaway most weeks, and this week, because this is one of those conversations, I just feel like this is just one of those conversations. I think, look, we want to make money, like all of us do, right? But I think all of us don't want to just make money once and then burn out and either not be able to enjoy it or not be able to sustain business. I want you all to be able to say, I've made great money, and I've been in business for 8 years. I'm going on my 9th year. Like, I want that to be the case where I plan on being around for the next 20, until I retire. I don't want any of us where it's like, great, I was a one-hit wonder. I made some money and then I burnt out. And then I'm like scared to go back to business. So I feel like this is one of those conversations. It's like not about money, but it's all about how to make money sustainably and actually keep making money. But yes, you will be, if you leave a comment, if you're here live anytime throughout this, leave me a comment, say you're here, and we're giving away, you get to pick from my product suite. I have a couple of self-study programs. You can pick anything you want or anything I've given away before, and we'll just let you choose, since I feel like that might be more fun. Okay, so let me actually pull up a couple of notes here because I want to make sure I touch on the things I wanted to talk on. I mean, I guess I always have notes, but these feel like some important things. So before I'm going to share, I promise I'm going to share this mindset, and I feel like this mindset, whether or not you're prone to burnout, this is also the mindset that has given me so much peace of mind in my business, so much contentment, and so much success on my terms. I talk so much about success on your terms. This is the mindset above, like, it is like the epitome of all mindsets. But before I share that, I swear I'm not trying to tease this out, but I feel like we need to talk about what burnout is a little bit, because I think if we understand burnout a little bit more, it's a lot easier to avoid. So I'm obviously not an expert in burnout. I'm not a therapist, so understand all of that. However, I have been coaching for 10 years. I've been in business for 8. I have been supporting high achievers in business to multi-six and 7 figures for 8 years. It's where my first client, who's very much a huge high achiever, to making $1 million in her business, my first year in business, and avoiding burnout. So this is definitely something I have quite a lot of personal experience with clients. And I've also just done a lot of studying around it. And so from my own, seeing my own business, I'm in a couple masterminds, seeing peers who are quite successful seeing this through clients. And then some research, Adam Grant has done some good work around this, and there's some good articles in like Psychology Today and Harvard Review. But I think one of the things I feel like is so important to understand with burnout is, I think most of us think burnout is because you're doing too much work, right? Like it's too much on your plate, and that like if you're just working, like more work equals burnout. And what I have found to be true is, not that can't be the case. Obviously, all of us have a point of like literally taxing our system. But what I find for most people when they're like truly burnt out and have the symptoms of burnout, which, could be, a bunch of physical symptoms as well. A lot of times it's not so much about too much work. It's more about things like, what is causing you to do too much work, doing work that is almost like low grade work, that isn't challenging enough, that's not giving you a sense of satisfaction, that isn't giving you a locus or a sense of control, especially for us entrepreneurs and high achievers. Like we crave that control, right? And it's oftentimes also doing work where you feel like you're not getting the reinforcement loop from it. You're not getting that sense of satisfaction. You're feeling like it doesn't matter. This is almost like a side conversation, but for any of my people who are psychology geeks like I am, and who are like geeks around the brain, who have like done any, like if you've just like learned any of that, I have a degree in that. I'm sure you've learned or you've heard about the, I think it's Martin Seligman, I can never say his names, research on learned helplessness. Burnout is not the same thing as learned helplessness, but learned helplessness is essentially this thing when we like try to do things over and over again, and no matter what we do, we don't get the response, and so we learn to become helpless. And so then even if we're in situations where we could do a thing and get the result we want, because we've learned no matter what we do, we don't get the result, we have learned to be helpless, and we don't go after the thing. They've done studies with animals that are, I think, kind of sad. But I think we see this in business a lot, right? So especially if you are a business owner where you've just been working really hard at trying to get results in your business, but like it feels like nothing you're doing is getting you the result, that can cause a form of learned helplessness where it feels like, well, what's the point? Because everything I do doesn't get me a result. And I think that's a little bit more of what I see can lead to kind of what we're talking about with burnout, where it's like, then it's not so much that you're doing so much work, it's just that the work doesn't feel like it's giving you the payoff, right? And then we both feel this like sense of burnout because there isn't that sense of reward in return, but there's also this sense of then when there is an opportunity that you could seize, it feels like, well, what's the fucking point? I'm almost talking about two different things here, but I'm hoping this is landing for all of you. The other things I really see is what I always talk about with clients is it's not so much the actions you take, it's what's the mindset and the fuel that is driving those actions. And so I'll use myself as an example. I actually love to work, but I can work all day from a place of like, I love my work. I'm feeling like I'm getting that feedback loop. I'm getting that positive reinforcement. I can see it's making an impact. It's making a difference. And I could work a long day. And honestly, like if I'm going out of town, I need to like have more client calls in one day. It's not going to burn me out. But if I was feeling that learned helplessness, or if there was a ton of pressure that I was putting on myself, right? Like I had to make a certain amount of money by a certain amount of time, or if I was feeling like nothing I did mattered, or like every client hated me, or if I had clients that were, toxic, or my team was toxic, or there was a lot of conflict going on, right? I could actually work less, I could work fewer hours, but I would feel that sense of burnout. Hey, Alyssa, she says, great topic. Thank you. Nice to have you here. Let me know if this is landing for you, because I don't want to make a case here now where it's like the solution to burnout is work a whole lot. That's not at all we're going to talk about. But I think sometimes in our space, we tend to generalize, and what happens is because burnout is so prevalent in the entrepreneurial space, I think it's like our pendulum swings and we're like, well, burnout is bad. We don't want burnout. Obviously we don't. And we just see the surface level symptoms, but we forget symptoms are not the cause, right? Symptoms are just what's presenting. We see, oh, these people who are burned out were working a bunch. Therefore, working a bunch is wrong. It's bad, right? I'm not for hustle culture, but we just like lump all of these things and we forget that correlation is not causation. If you've ever taken a science class, that's the first thing they teach you, right? And the pendulum just swings, and we're like, all we want is like a lazy business, a pleasure-filled lazy business where we do fuck all and like nothing matters. And look, I'm all for being, no one here is lazy, but I'm all for being pleasure filled. I'm all for taking rest and all of that. But I think we just almost miss the forest for the trees and see that's not even what burnout is about or what's causing it in the first place. And in some cases, they've done studies on this. If you take a person who's burnt out and you just tell them to go take 3 weeks off, oftentimes that's not actually going to make them feel better. And in many cases, it'll actually have them feel worse because it's not addressing what's actually going on and what's causing the burnout in the first place. And they've done studies as well. Adam Grant talks about this, and I think it's in I think it might be in Give and Take. I've read too many of his books at this point, so don't quote me on which book it's from, but he cites some research where they've actually had people who are burnt out do more work. But it's things like volunteering. It's things where they can feel a sense of control and also get that feedback, that reward loop back. Because oftentimes when people are burnt out, like at their corporate job, for example, it's because they've gone in like monotonous, like low grade tasks they've kind of like grown out of and they're missing that challenge, or it's because everything is kind of so toxic, they're not getting that positive reinforcement. And so the solution is not now go peace out for 3 weeks, because you're just going to come, like, the problem was not that they need to rest. I mean, that is something that is needed anyway, but then they rest for 3 weeks. If anything, their energy goes down because they're not getting what they actually need, which is some of that feeling of control and that feeling of challenge and that positive reinforcement. And then they go back to work, right? And it's just the same exact thing all over again. Let me know if this is landing for you. Okay, thank you, love. I'm glad this is landing. And so I think we just want to understand these things, because otherwise in our own businesses, right, it's just so easy for us to solve the wrong problem. My coach is drilled. I'm celebrating 6 years with my coach going on. I just re-signed, so it'll be 6.5 years. And something she has just drilled into my brain is how important it is to identify and solve the right problem. And I think with something here like burnout, like what we're talking about here at the end of the day is sustainability in business. Yes, we want to make profit. Yes, we want to make revenue. I want all of you to make $250K more per year if that works for you. But I just find that's a really great spot in business where you're making enough revenue after expenses to pay yourself well. Obviously, 6 figures is great. Whatever you want to make is great, but that I think for many business owners is a really sustainable place. So we're talking about all of that, but I want you to be able to do that without burning out. But for that to happen, we have to understand first what that is even, because otherwise we're going to identify something where it's like you actually just need to take a break and give yourself some rest, or we're identifying the wrong problem, we're solving the wrong problems. Now, there are lots of causes for burnout. And I feel like with what we're talking about here, I'm always mindful of conversations on a live stream here because I can't coach all of you one-on-one. So take what I'm sharing here as like, we're talking big picture concepts. Obviously, you need to rest in business. Obviously, I am not saying hustle for anyone. I'm not saying work 24/7. I'm not saying now the solution is to go put a bunch of shit on your plate. However, I am saying that I don't think we want to demonize work in our business. I also don't think we want to demonize things like challenge or hard work. I think there's a very big difference between a healthy challenge, a healthy hustle, a healthy amount of what feels hard because we're learning something new that is required in business, versus the type of work that causes burnout, which is often the mundane tasks that we do to avoid the challenge, right, that we really should be delegating, or they're actually distractions and they don't actually make us money, but that we can fill our entire calendar with. It's almost another conversation to have. But I think one of the biggest ways business owners sabotage their success, and I think this can lead to burnout, is the trap of busyness, right? We just like love to busy ourselves with shit that doesn't matter to feel like we're doing something, as opposed to leaning into the challenging, like, thing you could do in an hour, but that's a little bit more challenging than will yield results. But I'm going to go down tangents, so I'm going to keep us focused, but I want to make sure we're not mishearing what I'm saying. So let me just pull my notes up here. And I did share this already, but one study said giving yourself more challenge versus more volume of work. I think that's the piece we want to see, right? We're not talking about more volume. We're talking about within that 1 hour, instead of giving yourself 5 hours, how can you give yourself more challenge, but also more of a reward loop in that 1 hour? But what I have seen from my people, and if you're here, you're my people, you're probably identify as a high achiever, or if you don't, you're a closet high achiever. I have lots of clients who are like, I'm not a high achiever because I'm not successful enough. And I'm like, I feel like that is just like the definition of a high achiever, because high achievers never think they're successful enough. I bet if you're here, you have some high achiever traits. And if not, this will still land for you. But what I find for my high achievers, and I totally count myself into this, and one of the ways that I see really drive burnout is things like putting too much pressure on yourself and what I call chasing the dragon. I mean, I didn't come up with the term chasing the dragon. That's a term we use in the drug world. That I really see this prevalent in business, and I really see this as a cause of burnout. And I'm going to explain what I mean. But this is the mindset shift that I think has allowed me to sustain business success for so many years, to sustain multi-six figures. So I've been making 6 figures for 5 years, but multi-six, so at a higher level for 4. And, you know, with again, 20 to 25 one-on-one clients. And I feel I'm a very content, very peaceful, very chill person. like I actually am who I seem like I am on a live stream. But I think one of the big reasons is I have done a fuck ton of work around breaking up with my addiction to success, and I'm going to explain what I mean by that, and to chasing the dragon. So if you don't know the term chasing the dragon, this is kind of in the addiction drug world. Chasing the dragon is like you're just chasing that bigger and bigger hit, and you're just chasing that high. And hopefully everyone in this group is not addicted to drugs. So let me explain this to you. But I know quite a bit about addiction because I was in a toxic relationship in my past with someone who was an addict. So I know about it by watching it. And I lived in Los Angeles and Hollywood for 10 years. So I saw a lot of addiction around me. I worked in a bar there. So I just learned a lot about addiction. And addiction in general, especially when we're talking about a drug, like the like sneaky thing with this is the first hit is like the first time you do a drug, right? That gives you the biggest high. And then after that, people are chasing the dragon. They're always chasing that first high. And you need more and more and more of the drug to get essentially less than that high. So if this was your pinnacle first, like let's say you do cocaine, the first time you do I feel like I should not be talking about cocaine on a live stream, but this is where we're going with this because I think this is really relevant to burnout and what happens with high achievers in business and in our online space. So just hang with me for a second. So let's say you take a hit of cocaine and this is the high you get. And it's like, it is just so amazing. That's what causes the addiction, right? Your brain, the dopamine is just firing and wiring in your brain. And when dopamine fires in your brain, it is like, we must get more of what caused that, right? Like that's what literally causes a physical addiction. So you take another hit of cocaine, but your high will never be as high as the first high. So the next time it's here. Your brain is like, we want to get here, right? So we got a little bit of that, but we are always chasing that. We are chasing that high. So now we want to get up here. Well, we need to take a little bit more than we did before to even get close to that, but we're getting here. But we're taking twice as much. Then we're taking 3 times as much. But we keep taking more and more, but we're getting diminishing returns, right? That's the whole nature of addiction. It's a very sad, very sad world. It's why it's tough for people to get out of. If you've had addiction or if you're in recovery of any way, like I see you, because I just think it's almost so much work to be in recovery as well. And that's what chasing the dragon is. What happens in business, and let me know if this is still landing for you all. What I see for my clients, what I saw for myself years ago is that fine, we're not taking cocaine, but for many of us, success is our drug of choice, right? And so we are chasing more and more success, bigger and better success, more and more money, a bigger group program, a bigger audience. And we're always chasing the dragon, and that nothing is ever as sweet as that first hit of success. And we're in this pool of other high achievers where, I mean, the online space is so amazing and so incredible in so many ways. Like, never could any of us have the businesses we do today without the online space. Like the fact that I can talk to you right now, and probably some of you live in other countries and different time zones, right? It's incredible. And it's also fucked in some ways because this is the only time in history that every business owner can see what every other business owner is doing. And we're all in a space where we share our results, we share our wins, right? When I live in New York City, I have no idea what the revenue of every restaurant down the street makes. I have no idea, unless I walk in, I could kind of guess by how busy or not busy they are. I don't know how big their success is. I don't know how much, any of their stuff going on is outside of, what I can just see again from like the number of patrons in a restaurant. But in our online space, you open up your feed and it's all you're bombarded with all day long because that's how we market. That's how we sell. We're also just all in the same pool together. Again, lots of good stuff about that. But I think if you're a high achiever and if your drug of choice is success, and if what you're chasing is more and more success, it's also such a trap because you start to see, wait a second, I just booked my first client. That's amazing. And then you go into the online space and it's like, oh, that's not even good enough anymore because I see someone who has 20 clients, right? Or, oh, I made my first 10K month, but that's so amazing, but oh, that's not good enough because I go online, I see someone's made 100K in a month, whatever that is. So I think it just feeds for us high achievers, right? We just see this example of what's bigger and bigger and better and better. And I think it can create this addiction really, and this pattern of I'm just always chasing more and more and bigger and bigger and better and better. And I think that is what fuels the type of action in business that causes a lot of misalignment. And what can actually lead to burnout. Because not only, if we're chasing the dragon, not only do you need it's sort of like nothing is ever enough, right? You need more and more and more to feel less and less and less. And I wrote a post about this that I think I posted today before the live stream on Instagram. I fell into this trap, so I know this from experience. I remember when I started my business, my goal was to make 60K per year. That's all I wanted, was to make 60K per year serving one-on-one clients. That was like the dream for me. It seemed like if I could do that, that would be the most, like, I would just like pinch me. Like, I get to do work I love, help people make 60K a year. And then I reached that. And here's what we're talking about, right? Like, I'm chasing the dragon. I reached that. And it's like, wait a second, this is no longer enough. And I also see people doing bigger and better. And so then it became a 10K month. And then I made the 10K month. And like, that wasn't good enough. And so then it became 17K per month was going to be the thing that like made me a good enough coach. Then I made 17K per month. And it's like, no, now I need 20K months. That's the holy grail. Then it became 30K months, was like when I would actually be like, this is all such bullshit too. Like, notice the stuff we do to ourselves. I'm just sharing this with you so that you can see, like, everybody, I think, who's a high achiever, like, it does this on some degree until we learn to break up with it. But this is the addiction, right? Like, this is chasing the dragon. I've gotten the thing. Now I need more and more to feel less and less. So now it's like 30K months. I need to get that, because that's when I'm going to be successful. That's when people think I'm a big coach. Except for I made 30K months, and y'all, guess what? I still, felt like it didn't feel nearly as sweet as that first time I made 60K or that first 10K month. It actually felt less good, right? And so then it became 40K months. And then 40K months were like, oh, I've got to break the ceiling to make 50K months. And you can just see how you can just chase this forever. And I like weirdly feel less and less good. And this is, I think, what if we're not aware of and we don't catch. The reason I think I haven't burnt out is I've just been able to catch this, and I have support behind me, and I've just done a lot of work of breaking up with this addiction. It is just really, really easy to be chasing, and that I think will lead to burnout quicker and faster than anything else for a couple of reasons. One, I mean, you're chasing energy. If we think about doing anything, right, like that's where the pressure comes from. Pressure can come from other things as well. Like I know for a lot of my clients, there's a lot of financial scarcity, and even if they're making 50K a month, right? There's still that financial security, the scarcity that the bottom's going to fall out. More money does not solve scarcity unless you address what's causing that scarcity in your mind in the first place, right? But like that will cause some of the pressure and the burnout, and that's a different form of chasing the dragon, right? They're just always chasing more and more to feel secure, right? But if we don't learn how to feel secure first, you will burn out trying to feel more and more. But I think there's also the worthiness, good enough piece that I see for so many of my clients. And so there's just all of this pressure. And when you're taking action from a place of pressure, that can lead to burnout. Not to like create a story, but that very much can lead to burnout. But the other thing I see happen, and I think this is one of the like gifts I have given myself in business, is I think this is also when we start to create offers and sell shit that is not in alignment, because we're just chasing the dragon, right? We're just trying to make more money. We're just trying to have more success. We're just trying to get a bigger audience. We're just trying to have a bigger launch. And look, I have clients who have huge group programs, huge courses, right? And that is so right for them, and they love it. They are not chasing the dragon. That is in alignment. But I also see how often, I'll use myself as an example, I have been tempted so many times, right? Like I'm chasing the dragon. I want to have a bigger business. Not because I want a bigger business or because I want to have a group program, but I almost think like I should create a group program because I'm chasing the dragon. And I see everybody else who's a successful coach has a group program. Everybody else who's a big coach is making more money than me because they have a group program, right? It's very easy to get caught up in that trap. And I know if I chased that, I wouldn't be creating, for example, and I really want you to hear this. I'm not saying group programs are bad. I'm helping so many clients right now launch group programs. They are a wonderful thing. They are a wonderful model. It is just not the right model for me. And I'm really, really clear on that. So I'm also really clear on if I get that inkling, if I should create this thing, I have to check in with, do I want to create this thing because this is the work I want to put into the world? This is the way I feel like I can best serve people. This is what lights me up. This is the challenge I want to lead into. This is where I'm going to get that positive reinforcement loop we were talking about. Or am I wanting to create this thing because I'm chasing the dragon, because I feel like I got to prove something, because I want to try and make more and more and more, because I want to try, those are two very different things. And that difference changes the fuel for the action you're taking. And so please, I'm going to just check the comments here. Oh, there's comments. Okay. These come up slow for me, y'all. Lila says, I literally just went through burnout in fall last year. I needed 6 months off for my business, a 9 to 5 financial stability, and a really deep look into what the heck I was focusing on. It really came down to confusion, my zone of genius, which was the basis of my entire business. Restarting this year, I've been completely slowed down, reminding myself because I want this to be long-term. Yes. Not just one and done, like you said. And I'm building it right for me instead of what everybody else says. This is the whole thing I'm trying to communicate. Oh my gosh, I love you so much for seeing this. I'm also sorry you went through burnout. And just so seeing you in that, because it is just such a real thing, and just so seeing you in being willing to slow down. I think it is one of the hard, that's breaking the addiction, right? It's one of the hardest things, and just so seeing you in that. She says, I'm building it right for me instead of what everybody else says. Seriously, by going slow, I'm already way further ahead than I was before, feeling good about it rather than feeling pressure. This conversation is so needed. She says, definitely got caught up in that cycle before. It's, Lilith, I just so appreciate you for being willing to share that, because I think, so often we don't want to. It is exactly that. I think that is this is what we're talking about, because it's not, I'm guessing you're probably still having to work in your business, right? It's not like you're not working, but the fuel, because you're going slow and you're doing what's right for you, instead of having the fuel of chasing or proving or whatever, whatever that was for you that led to burnout, you're probably still working, but because you're allowing yourself to go slow, you're taking that pressure off, you're doing it for you, the fuel behind that action probably feels so different and so much more sustainable. And it's exactly what you're saying. The irony is, I have seen this myself. It is fascinating to me, but it's the whole do less better. I feel like I've been on a tear about, and to do less better, you actually have to do less to do it better. It's what Adam Grant and some of the research has shown, right? It's about finding more challenge instead of more volume of work, or finding more, satisfaction instead of more volume. But it's also that to go fast, we often have to go slow. There are so many, I think it's Rich Litvin, I quote him all the time. He talks about go slow to speed up, or do things that don't scale to scale. But I think there's such a truth, and you have to go slow to speed up. And it is, I think, so hard for us as high achievers to understand, because as high achievers, our brains are just so wired where it's no, I'm so good at, I'm good at doing. And so if I'm good at doing, why wouldn't I just put the gas down and do more and do more and do more? And there is a point of that's chasing the dragon, right? There's a point of diminishing returns, but we also have to look at why are we doing more and more and more? And what's driving that action? This is, I don't know if this will land, but my dad passed away a couple of years ago, but he was a race car driver. He had a prolific career for 50 years where he both drove, but he coached some of the top drivers, like the Indy 500, to win the Indy 500, some other big races. And so obviously that's all about speed, and that's all about achievement, and that's all about success. But something that's really interesting when you're racing is you sometimes have to slow down to go fast. So when hopefully this will land for y'all. I think this is still related. But two things are true, and I think they're related to the burnout, to the success piece. When you're driving, and if you're driving a course and you hit a corner, to be able to win a race, when you hit a corner, literally what you're taught to do is to slow down, and to slow down as you go into the corner. There's something called an apex, to be a geek about it, so that you can hug that corner and be in the right position to get the momentum from that corner to speed onto the straightaway that's coming after that. And if you don't slow down to speed up, your car will spin out and crash. It will literally, you'll crash, or you'll actually have to slam on the brakes, and then you won't be able to accelerate in the way to win the race. The other thing that's true in racing is you don't want to take pit stops all the time. And it's, it's so much more about picking the challenging, the right focus. There's a lot of strategy, but you have to stop in the pit stop once in a while, or your car will not, will literally not finish and make it to the end of the race. And so I think there's a lot of analogies here with what you're sharing, Lilith, but with what we're talking about that go with burnout on, the slow down to speed up. And I think the bigger piece Lilith and I are talking about, and I want to see what Lilith says here, what I'm talking about with chasing the dragon is, and this is just the question I will ask myself anytime I'm looking at launching a new podcast, right? I've got, y'all, my phone is right here. If I were open this up, I'm not joking. Actually, let me do this. I think this is actually helpful for y'all to hear. I have culled this. I have on iCloud, I have 1,242 notes. On my Gmail, I have 1,492 notes. These are all notes of ideas, content, course ideas, program ideas, downloads, research. So that's 2,000 700 notes or whatever, and I've deleted a lot. I'm not at a loss of ideas. It's not like I don't have things that I could do, right? I'm an idea generator. I am a creator. I'm an ex-actress. I'm a creative. Like, and I also like, I genuinely, like, not from a burnout place. Like, I genuinely just love my work. So like, that's not a problem I have, but I check in all of the time before I want to add something new to my business with, am I chasing the dragon? And it's something, like, I literally was just talking about this with my therapist. It's something I have to be really honest with myself, because I know how to lie to myself and be sneaky to myself. I'm a smart bitch. So are all of you, right? Like, our brains are just so sneaky that way. But I have to check in with that, because I know if I'm doing something because I'm trying to prove to other people that I'm good enough, if I'm doing something because I'm trying to prove to y'all that, like, I'm a successful, good enough coach because I'm making more money, or whatever, like, the noise in my brain might be, or if I'm doing something just because I think if I chase this, that will get me what I want, or if I'm doing something because I'm feeling in scarcity, right? Like, either way, these are all chasing the dragon. I know if I'm operating from that place, that's the addiction, right? Like, that's the addiction to success that is very unhealthy. That will lead to burnout if I don't catch it. And the sneaky thing with addiction, and the sneaky thing with chasing the dragon, and the sneaky thing with burnout is usually you can go pretty far before something bad happens. I saw this in LA. There are a lot of celebrities that are doing cocaine nonstop, right? They can get away with some really bad decisions. In therapy, we talk about this. Are you operating from shadow or light? Like, you have your best self and you've got your shadow decision, your light decision. You can make a lot of shadow decisions, but when you make shadow decisions beget more shadow decisions. So if you make a decision that's chasing the dragon, I'm hoping this all makes sense. If I choose to create a program because I just want to prove I'm good enough and I want to prove I'm worthy and I'm just chasing more money, right? That's a shadow decision. That's chasing the dragon. Am I chasing the dragon? Yes. If I don't catch that, right, then that's going to beget another shadow decision, right? I'm going to keep making shadow decisions until I hit what we call rock bottom, right? Like, it's usually not shadow decisions. They're not like, oh, this was a bad decision that doesn't serve me, let me now move to light, right? Like, that's usually not what happens. Usually, because it's an addiction, shadow decisions lead to opportunities for more shadow decisions, right? You keep making decisions that just dig you bigger and bigger into the hole until you find yourself in rock bottom. With addiction, rock bottom is, all sorts of crazy shit. In business, rock bottom is often burnout. So I always like to ask with this mindset piece, and then I want to read these comments. What I always like to ask myself is, am I chasing the dragon? That's for me. Like, you could ask yourself something different, but to me, that is just my check-in, because it makes me get real honest with myself about what is my intention, what is the fuel for this action and this decision, and what's the light, what's the healthy decision here. Is always like, am I operating from shadow or am I operating from light? If I'm operating from shadow, I want to be real fucking mindful, because that path leads to burnout. Doesn't mean I can't make money. It's just going to be money fueled. Like, that's going to be at a very expensive cost. Let me read these comments, because otherwise I'm just going to go down rabbit holes. Lilith is right. Still working, but much more mindfully. And the fact that I actually do feel purposeful, it's so much easier because I'm just excited to help people with it. Oh my gosh, it's exactly that. This is what I was saying at the beginning of the live stream. I don't know if you caught this, but I think when you are mindful, when you're doing something because it's purposeful, when you feel in control, when there's no pressure, when it feels like you get that sense of reward, like helping people, I bet you find you can actually work the same amount, if not more, without feeling burnt out, where you probably could do stuff that wasn't purposeful, that didn't feel like you were helping people, that didn't feel like it gave you that sense of reward before, where you might have worked less but felt more burnout. Like, that's the piece there, where it's not necessarily, I think there is a sense of volume of work. It's what's the quality of work, but it's not just how many hours are worked. It's what is in those hours of work and how is that fueling or draining you. If you're not making money and you need to, what would you recommend doing in terms of mindset? Still slow down and just focus on the work, not the scarcity. Tend to get really depressed if I don't get results. If you're not making money and you need to, what would you recommend doing in terms of mindset? Just slow down and just focus on the work, not the scarcity. There's a couple thoughts that come up for me. I think I'm going to try to answer this in context with the conversation we're having today. But overall, what comes up for me is I'm just like, because there's a couple thoughts I want to parse out. So the first part I'm noticing here is like, if you're not making money and you need to, something I think about a lot that I think has actually prevented burnout for me in business is I've always, like, before my business was was making the money that I needed. I live in New York City, so I need, a pretty penny to live here. And now I'm the breadwinner, so I need a pretty penny to live here. Before my business was making that money, I had an outside source of income that I really made right. And I really saw that as the way to take the pressure off my business needing to hurry up and perform for me because of all the things we're talking about. I do think there is this way in which it's almost like the more we need something, the more we need our business to perform, the more we need it, whether it's to give us money because we need to pay the bills or because we need it to feed our sense of worth, right? The more I think that can put us into that addiction pattern, but that can put, I just think some desperation that honestly can make it harder to make money. And it's the most annoying, fucked up thing in the world. It's like when we see people who are making like $1 gazillion and we're like, they keep making more and more money. People keep offering them free things and sponsorships. Like, they don't need it. Why do they keep getting it? Part of the reason they keep getting it is they don't need it. And so they can come from such a different energy and place, not just in terms of attraction, but I think there's also, you won't burn out in that way. So that's the first thought that comes up for me is I've always just looked at how can I not put pressure on my business needing to make money. And so similarly now, it's the same thing, right? My expenses have gone up because I have a bigger team, and my lifestyle has expanded a little bit, but I really look to how can I not expand that past what I'm making. So there is never pressure on my business to hurry up and perform for me. Obviously our businesses, we want them to make money. I'm not saying that, but that's the first thing. In terms of mindset, to slow down, just focus on the work, not the scarcity. The couple other thoughts. Look, anyone can create from scarcity. I think that's just important to say. So I do think sometimes scarcity fuels people. The challenge with creating money from a place of scarcity in business is I think it can create this pattern in which we almost only know how to create money from a place of scarcity, where we then feel like we always have to create more scarcity, dig a hole to be able to create money because that's the pattern we've set up. If that makes sense. And so I find it's actually you can make money from scarcity, but I think then it can create a little bit of that pattern that can lead to the burnout or just the up and down cycle, because the cycle our brain knows is, wait, I need to make money. The way I know how to do that is to feel in scarcity. That drives me into kind of hustling or overworking or whatever the thing is, then I make money, right? That's the pattern we create. So I would say from a mindset perspective, maybe even just starting to see, is that a little bit of a pattern, and what would it look like to create from a sense of wholeness and from not needing something. Hopefully that makes sense. And then I would just say in terms of the mindset, just kind of with what Lila is saying, I think our brains just think the faster I go, the more I will make. And I have just rarely seen that to be true. This is a silly example. Maybe this will land for you, Jaya. I posted a reel last couple days ago. It bombed, totally bombed. And this is I will forever be in recovery. I'm a high achiever. These are my patterns as well. For all of you, for the stuff that's coming up, do not think that these are that I've whitewashed these from my brain. They're still there. I just learned how to handle them. So I had a reel that bombed, and my brain's natural inclination is to go, oh, this bombed. The way to solve that is just to start creating 2 reels per day, must do more, right? That's the solution. And I had to really catch myself and see, wait a second, that doesn't make any sense. If I just go faster, if I just do more, I'm just going to do more of the same. I just want to do that because that feels really self-soothing to me. That feels soothing to my nervous system. I'm a bit of a high achiever. I've got a little anxiety, right? I've got some trauma. That busyness feels really good, but also I'm a recovering addict to chasing the dragon, right? That just feels like I'm just proving and getting into energy. What I actually need to do is slow the fuck down and take a look at this reel that bombed, not make it wrong, but take a look at why didn't this perform as well? What didn't land for my audience? Can I actually get a learning from this, which requires me to slow down and actually do less so that I can not hustle a bunch of more content out, but now do something again, but do it way better because I slowed the fuck down. So I don't know if that lands, but I think it's starting to really start to see how speeding up usually just makes us make mistakes and not do great work, and slowing down the mindset I feel like I am forever learning a deeper layer of and trying to drill into my clients is the concept of do less better. If you slow down and you do fewer things and you do them better and you get the learnings from them, that is the secret to success and making more money without burning out for everyone. Like I could speak about that for a gazillion years. All right, I went on a rant there, so I hope that helps. I want to see all these comments though before they disappear. Can I see I might need you to copy some of these past ones because it seems like they disappear. Thanks for being so real. Oh, real, haha, with the two spellings. Totally there. Lilith says, the thing I spend the most time on is keeping my ego and high achieving in check. It's exactly that. So when we're chasing the dragon, when we're in our shadow self versus our light self or like the healthy self, we are in ego. I think that's just a great way to say it. And I think that's just that's another way to check. Like, am I making this decision from ego? Am I deciding to do this thing from ego, from fear? I mean, fear is also ego. Or is this a healthy decision from a place of, my healthy drive? Drive and ambition are not a bad thing, y'all. I want to make sure we're not hearing this. I think drive and ambition are beautiful, but there's a big difference between drive and ambition from a healthy place, that you're doing it for you, versus from like scarcity ego. Lila says, I want to go fast, but I don't want to sabotage myself. I want to make more money, but I want to grow sustainably. It's all of that. And the more we slow down, it's what I was talking about with the racing example. The more we slow down, the more you can speed up. If you know where the appropriate places are to slow down, if I slow down at that corner, then I can speed up in that straightaway because I haven't spun the fuck out, right? And then I can go real fucking fast. I take spin class, right? Because I know when there's the intervals and there's the breaks, because I actually let myself slow down and go to jogging pace. I'm one of the fastest, if not the fastest people in my spin class. I move my bike sideways. I'm very proud of that. But I can do that. I can go really fast because I'm taking the appropriate places to slow down. And because I'm not going to that class from a place of ego trying to prove that I'm like the fastest person in the world. So I'm also not pushing myself and hurting my body. So I can keep going to class week after week instead of like, oh my gosh, I went fast once, I injured myself, and now I can't go for 6 months. Jaya says, yes, that helps. It makes sense. Thanks. Let me know. I feel like there was a comment that disappeared from one of you. So if there was, if you wouldn't mind, I hate to ask you to do that I just want to make sure I answer the questions. If you wouldn't mind just recopying it so I can see it. Will Facebook show it to me here? I don't think. Oh, no. Okay. I can see it here in the other. Lilith had said, I literally work more, but on different things. I work more with clients, on client work, even just free light coaching in the DMs. I used to focus on tweaking my website, creating new products, rewriting my niche statement, literally anything other than the things that brought me clients. Oh my gosh, this is like almost a whole nother conversation, but I love you for saying that. This is the busyness trap that I was talking about. It is so easy. And I think there's a self-soothing element to it, right? Where it's like, but look at how busy I am. And that, I think, is self-soothing in the moment, but will lead to burnout long-term because we're not in the challenge and we're not getting that positive reinforcement loop. We're not seeing that impact that is so necessary. But I just want to help. So I'm happy about it. I'm building slowly, intentionally. I don't give to receive either. I just give, but it has led to receiving. No expectations, just happens. That, my friend, is so the secret. I feel like I've done a live stream on that obviously in business, we're selling to receive finances, but when we show up to give without expecting anything in return, obviously still selling, expecting payment in return when someone's made that contract and agreement, that is when the magic happens. Okay. I think I got all the comments there. Let me see my notes because we just went down a couple of questions, but I think that was all the main stuff I wanted to say. So let me just, the last two pieces I'll share here that just to tie this all in a bow. So again, just kind of what we were talking about with am I chasing the dragon? You might ask, am I operating from ego? Am I operating from purpose? Am I operating from the light or the shadow side of my ambition? So that's what I was saying a second ago. I don't want anyone here to think ambition is bad or that your drive is bad. I really think ambition is such a beautiful quality. I love my ambition. I love my drive. But any quality we have, so everybody in this group, all of you, this might be a really great exercise. I have my clients do this all the time. I have them write out kind of all their traits and their superpowers. But I think we have to remember all of our superpowers have a shadow and a light side. And so your ambition, your drive, your creativity, your charisma, all of these things are your superpowers. But let's say we use ambition as an example and charisma as an example. Both of these have a shadow and a light side, right? They have different expressions. You can be an ambition and have the healthy expression, which is what we're talking about here, where it's building a business sustainably, going slow to go fast, making money without chasing ego, without trying to prove something, right? Or you can be in the unhealthy expression, the shadow expression of it. I just need a sip of coffee that has gotten cold because my throat's hurting. right? We can be in the shadow expression of it, same trait, same superpower. But it's like, I feel like this is an old TV cartoon, but it's like with every superpower, like we have to be mindful there comes deep responsibility or there's big responsibility. Part of the responsibility is we have to know how to harness our superpowers. And a lot of us get into the shadow, unhealthy expression of our superpowers. And so what I want you to see here is your ambition, your drive, your high achievingness, your charisma, your talent. These are all your superpowers. I don't want anyone to walk away from this live stream making that wrong, thinking it's bad, now thinking like I shouldn't be this way. But I do think what is helpful is to then look at them and to see, but can I understand for myself, how does this show, like when I'm in the healthy light expression of this, what does this look like? When I'm in the shadow unhealthy expression of this, what does this look like? Can I use that as a barometer for myself? Because that's how you can check in with yourself. Am I making this decision from ego? Am I making this decision from my light or shadow side? Am I taking this action from light or from shadow? That can really be a guiding light for you. And that right there, that is the thing, like that more than anything is what's helped me avoid burnout and to have success and to love, like I genuinely love my business and love my life and feel so content. I feel like I have everything I've ever wanted. And I still am absolutely going after bigger goals. I'm just going after them for me. Like they're not from a place of ego or for anyone else. So hopefully that exercise makes sense. But I'd highly recommend that for everyone. I think that can be such a great way to make yourself right for what your strengths are, but also to see how to harness your strengths in a way that works for you instead of in that way that gets us chasing the dragon and kind of into the addiction, into the way that isn't serving. And then the other piece I will say here, and this might go to the scarcity conversation as well, and the question that was coming up around, Lila says, I love that, that was coming up around scarcity and kind of how to create not from scarcity. One of the things that's also really helped me to avoid burnout and to sustain success, but also to scale my business, but I don't know how many of you all know this, but I have a one-on-one revenue sharing model. So my ability to scale at a certain degree is like all up to my clients. Like I have to like surrender all control. It's not like I could just raise rates, but if I sold a course or did something different, like I'd have a little bit more control over, like I could just like double my revenue tomorrow. So I've had to just do a fuck ton of mindset work around that because the high achiever part of me that's like, I do this thing and I get results can be very, I don't know, just challenging to surrender sometimes with a model like that. And so something that's really helped me to love my model, to not put pressure on my clients, to not put pressure on my business, to like hurry up and make more, to like make me feel better, to make me feel good enough, or to chase that dragon is, this sounds so cheesy. I just know you're going to want to bring out the wine because I'm bringing you the cheese here, but I just mean this so sincerely. I feel like this is the hack among all hacks to get out of scarcity and to feel better and to avoid burnout. But I have just really done the work to be so fucking grateful for everything I have and to be so in love with everything I have and to see I already have everything I want, and I don't, like, I can still go after bigger goals and dreams, but the second I'm grateful for what I have, the second I'm content, the second I'm like, I just have it so good and I don't need more, is also the second more unfolds for me. And I will say, and this actually comes up for me around the question that was coming up, that was asked around kind of like when you're in scarcity, you need to create more. I remember when, I think we were having this conversation, I remember when I was starting with my coach and I was making like $800 per month in my business and like, I don't know, a couple thousand at my 9-to-5, like not enough to live in New York City. I had to get a second and a third job, I think, to be able to pay for my coach. I picked up a second job and then a part-time third job so that I could pay for coaching to grow my business. And I was in so much scarcity. I'm not exaggerating. I remember going out for a cup of coffee, but I took my husband with me, my now husband. He was my boyfriend at the time. I bought 2 cups of coffee, and you know those little, they're like the gluten-free like chocolate balls made from dates. So I bought one of those and 2 coffees, and I had a fucking meltdown because it was like $16 and something at the time, because this was like 6 years ago, and it was just like I couldn't afford that. I was so in scarcity, and I remember the way I got out, like, yes, all of the things, strategy and all of the things, but one of the biggest things that helped take me from that place to not that much further, it was like 6 months from then, I had my first 10K month. One of the things that helped me the most is because I was so operating from scarcity. Like I was in like constricted scarcity fear. I also have quite a bit of trauma. So like there's a whole bunch wrapped up in that, right? One of the things that helped me the most was really, and again, this sounds so fucking cheesy, but it's just the truth, was just really leaning into, I call it obnoxious gratitude, but being so fucking obnoxiously grateful for the things I did have, the things that were going right, all the small wins, noticing every like tiny bit of abundance, and just noticing how I already had everything I wanted. And that helped me to get out of scarcity. And it made, I cannot even tell you what a difference it made to my nervous system, but also what a difference it made to how I showed up in my business, how I showed up in sales calls, right? Because I no longer needed a client because I was already giving myself that, right? I no longer needed someone to pay me so that I could feel safe because I was like giving myself that already. So I could show up more lean back, more kind of like, let's actually see what's going on here. Because when we're in scarcity, right, it's a really tough place to sell from. It made such a huge difference in my business. And I think that's also what helped me to really start, like, I think that's when I started this journey of I'm no longer chasing the dragon. I am creating business on my terms. I am doing things because this is what I really want. This is my purpose. Like, do things slow to go fast. Like, that's what really fueled all of that. So it sounds so cheesy, but it is I can't be more honest than that. It is like something that just supported me so much. I cannot, like, sometimes the simple cheesy stuff is the stuff that works the most. So I hope that is valuable for you. I'm going to wrap this up because I have a client call in 9 minutes and I need to go read their client notes. But I hope this was valuable to you. This feels like such an important conversation for every entrepreneur. So appreciate you being here live. We'll make sure we pick a winner later today. I so appreciate the questions. If you're watching on the replay, drop questions, thoughts, reflections for me. And then, of course, if any of you are listening to this and you're hearing this and this is the kind of support you want in your business, I am, you might not know because we talked so much mindset today, I am excellent at the strategy side of things and helping my clients get clear on the right model for you that's in your purpose, not chasing someone else's model, keeping you out of chasing the dragon, but helping you get clear on the right model for you that's sustainable, helping you get clear on the right strategy that's sustainable so you can do less better. One of the things my clients say to me the most is, oh my gosh, I did not realize how simple this could be. You made this so simple. Business does not need to be complicated. Really great at the strategy side of things and the messaging, marketing, sales, and sales in a way that feels really fucking sustainable. I right now have a 92.3% conversion rate. So like, I'm pretty good at this. And I've helped multiple clients. I've helped 16 clients to six figures, many more to multi-six, 3 to a million plus. So really great in the strategy side of things. But I think the magic and secret sauce and the reasons my clients get such big results and the reason so many of my clients renew for me, I've had clients with me for 3, 4, or 5 years, is because of the stuff we're talking about here. I have got you on getting clear on your strengths and figuring out and learning how to be in the healthy expression and catching when you're in shadow, not making yourself wrong, but really breaking up with that addiction of chasing and proving so that you can have sustainable results, because that's what I want for you. I don't want anybody, I want everybody to have a result and make money, but I don't want it for anyone to be at the expense of your own peace. That's my timer to get off our live, but at your own peace, joy, and happiness. So if that's the kind of support you're looking for, I've got some spots opening up this summer. I have a 1-week coaching intensive. We have one of those available this month. And then I've got some 6-month partnership spots opening up. I'll drop a link for a free coaching consultation. They're always completely free, pressure free. I'm very, very big on making sure we are the right fit, because I'm an excellent coach, but I'm an excellent coach when I work with the right people. If I'm not the right person for you, I will point you in the right direction, because that's always what's going to allow us to do the best work together. So I'll drop a link for that consultation if you're interested, and then I will be back next week with another topic for you. Lil says, love the cheesy stuff. Thanks for the convo. I'm glad you like my cheesy stuff, because I can't help it. I think I'm just like all cheese. All right. I love you all so much. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. I appreciate the conversation. Bye.